do it. They can't 7:04, I'm going to call the May 18th. Oh, we're reconvening, yes. The May 18th, 2023 regular meeting back out of executive session and into regular session. Has everyone had a chance to review the agenda?
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda? Thank you, Jen. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Laura. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Comments from the public. The board has set a time at the beginning and end of regular meetings for public comments for members of the public to share their views on matters involving the Wilton Public Schools and to help inform the board's decisions on such matters. 2 minutes will be allotted to each speaker and a maximum of 15 minutes to any one subject. For the record, please also give your name and address. The board considers the views of citizens in its deliberations and welcomes and appreciates public comment. The board listens to public comment thoughtfully and with interest. The board, however, generally does not respond to public comment during board meetings by offering commentary or answering questions. The board also invites commentators and the public to contact the board or the superintendent directly with any specific questions or comments. Is there anyone for public comment?
No.
Thank you. Consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
Thank you, Jen. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Nicola. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Board Chair's report. Just brief good evening. I just want to thank all who participated in the budget process and voted. The budget has passed and the district can now plan for next year with certainty. We are coming to the close of another amazing year for the Wilton Public Schools. This morning, I attended the Wilton High School Awards Assembly. I was honored to present the CABE Award and to be in a room full of talent and promise. Thank you, Principal O'Donnell and Assistant Principal Keating for facilitating the presentation. It was really phenomenal.
Yeah, it was great, wasn't it?
I think that it's only fitting for the board to write a year in review and a thank you to all who make our schools a success. So with the board's permission, I'd like to draft a letter for review for discussion and approval at our June 1st meeting. Superintendent.
Great. So I'll pick up kind of where you left off with the congratulations. One of the names that was mentioned, I think, with every other award today at the award ceremony is one of our really stellar graduating seniors going off to Yale, Lucas Koutsoukis. Among his many achievements, Lucas was one of only 2 students here in the state of Connecticut and 161 nationally to be recognized as a presidential scholar. So that's a very big deal. So we want to congratulate Lucas and his family. We also want to recognize Avni Gupta, who was honored as a National Merit Scholar. Terrific. We had a small host of students who were commended scholars, also semifinalists and finalists, and Lucas was, Avni, one of 2,500 across the country out of like 15,000 who was recognized as a scholar. So really tremendous accomplishment for her. I don't know if you saw the news, but our music program has once again been recognized by the NAM, National Association of Music Educators, for being a best community for music education here in the country. And I think it's the 3rd or 4th consecutive recognition. So congratulations to all of our music educators. I also want to extend my congratulations and thanks to not just our music educators, but all of our fine and performing arts educators. Yeah, and if you're aware, this time of year is art show season, it's concert season, and those folks are as busy as anybody, running all over town, holding art shows, holding concerts. They're everywhere. There was a really tremendous event a few weeks ago at the Wilton Library where we do kind of an all-call, so, decorate the entire library with our students' artwork, and then we have student artists there giving exhibitions. We have all kinds of music shows, so it's a really just tremendous community event in a tremendous space. There are hundreds and hundreds of people who kind of trek through, both families as well as just community members at large, and they are our staff. really has figured out how to bring out the best in our students. And so I want to just take my hat off to all of those folks tonight. We also want to congratulate our video and digital media students who competed again this year in the Area 9 Cable Council Awards. Wilton won 11 awards. So the high school won 5 second-place awards. They won a third-place award. Cider Mill swept the animated stop-motion category with first, second, and third-place trophies. They also took a first place in the narrative fiction category, and Miller Driscoll came home with a second place with the very famous Miller Driscoll Morning Show. So congratulations to them. And last but not least, I know we're here tonight, but there's a whole crowd next door in the Clune because tonight's the opening night of Mary Poppins. We have, I don't know, something like 75 students participating between the cast and crew. So if you have time this weekend, or please make time, performances will be tonight, tomorrow, and then Saturday at 7 o'clock, and then Saturday and Sunday at 1 p.m. So you can kind of search it up online and get tickets, but it is sure to be a crowd pleaser, so please go see it.
Students are flying and everything.
They are. Superintendents flew, too. Someone had to test the rigging. So, yeah, it's great. It's going to be a really good show.
Committee reports. Policy did not meet teaching and learning. Business ops did not meet either. Okay.
Oh, can I just hop in and say, the science curriculum review cycle finished.
Okay.
And social studies, the last one is tomorrow. And it's been great to be, I was on the original one, like the first time they went through, and so the amount of work, I mean, it's just amazing, like we just go that much farther this cycle, and, you know.
So we look forward to hearing
Yeah,
all about it
yeah.
in the fall. Review and discuss special education update.
The fabulous Sandra Leonardi and team.
Thank you very much. Well, special ed continues here in Wilton. We've had an amazing year of growth and development for our students. Our staff has put in an extraordinary level of work as we continue to feel the effects in this post-pandemic environment. A couple of trends we see across not only Wilton but in the state and in the nation are a continued increase in the number of new referrals to special education across the continuum, pre-K all the way up. We're seeing increase in the number of referrals and the number of students being eligible for and in need of special education services. Across the nation, you've read it, you've heard it, we feel it, and we address it. The increase in the issues related to mental health of our young people, our early adolescents and adolescents and younger, and the impact that is having on their ability to access their education, and that ends up in special ed land. So we are continuing to see that trend. We are continuing to see an uptick in the number of students requiring psychiatric hospitalization. And I'm not sure if the board is aware, the community is aware, that if and when a youngster is hospitalized in a psychiatric hospital, by state law, we are required to refer to a special ed process to determine whether or not there is a disability that requires special education. There's no choice. You must refer and go through that process. So with that uptick comes additional evaluations, additional reviews, and the time and attention of the staff to make those determinations about what the student may need and whether or not it's a disability that requires specialized instruction. The impact of that, even if the child is not determined to have a disability, if they're in a psychiatric hospital, for example, if you have a high school student who ends up in a psychiatric hospital for 2 weeks, imagine what they come back to in terms of what they have to make up, right? So while we provide tutorial services in compliance with state law when we need to, that student is coming back in further under the, behind the 8 ball, so to speak, in terms of trying to manage their mental health and under the pressure and stress. And often these are our highest functioning learners. These are really exceptional learners. They're in high-end classes and they're overwhelmed. And so we are dealing with that on a regular basis. Our staff is, that all just doesn't happen during the school day. So our staff is very much addressing those needs nights and weekends and across the board with families and with children. So it is it has quite a lot of impact on our staff and the heroic work they do. And I say heroic with intention because many times we've heard of people who've actually, our staff who've actually, saved a life because they've responded and been available in those times when a student is struggling and their family is struggling. So if I can just take that moment to thank all of them, it is an amazing amount of work that they do, and they do it with great passion and great commitment to the kids and the families of this community.
I have a quick question for you. So
You betcha.
That's amazing. And are these students who are typically not in the special ed umbrella that are having, like, when you were talking about these students, are we seeing a pattern of students who were not previously in special ed?
More than ever before.
Okay.
More than ever before, we're seeing students who are new referrals to special ed very late in their educational career.
Interesting. Scary.
We catch a lot, but often these are students in 11th grade, sometimes 12th grade, who are experiencing these things for the first time and are referred to special education at that time, more than ever before. Yeah. But there's plenty of good news. Plenty of good news. For those kids, for these kids, and for the rest of our kids with disabilities, the work that's happening is creating great growth. While we haven't closed the entire achievement gap yet, there are individually, there are stories of heroic growth, students who come into us or have come to us with significant needs making monumental growth across a year, greater than a year's growth in a year and a half, 2 years growth as measured by academic standards. Students in these programs that we'll talk about tonight who have developed a skill set that allows them to get back to where they can learn freely and really show and create a passion for learning again. So last year when we were here, we brought some people before you to take what I call a victory lap, to talk about the continuum of services in special education. Special ed, you recall, special ed is not a place. So while we call these programs, it's not about separating students. It's about creating a constellation of services around the student that allows them to access the curriculum and the hidden curriculum of school, all the functional aspects of school, all the sports and plays and music and all of those things, because it gives them the services and supports they need, behind the scenes. Tonight, we wanted to do some work with the elementary and do a victory lap, but so many people couldn't be here that I'm going to ask for I'm going to ask you to let me do another victory lap at the elementary in September, when the staff who really deserves the accolades can be here to receive them. So if that's okay, we'll save the Early Learning Center at Miller Driscoll and have them come do a little victory lap for you for our youngest kids, and then work with some of the work that's happening at the elementary level. But tonight we're going to focus on a piece of our continuum of service. You've heard us talk about DBT. You've heard us talk about the programming. Last year we came and talked to you about Genesis, which is a program you know well and have supported. And perhaps a piece of the continuum of services we provide at both Middlebrook and the high school. So I wanted to give them a chance to really describe the work we do there, who we serve and how we serve them, and the impact it's having on those students and their quest to meet the standards of the Portrait of the Graduate. And then, so I'm going to hand it over and introduce you to them. Tonight, representing Middlebrook is Nicole Corzet, and then we have Kathy Weiss from Wilton High School's Flex program, and Emily Montgomery, also from the Flex program, who are going to talk a little bit about that continuum, that piece of the continuum of service, and how they support kids. And we do also have some input from students and parents for you to see as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nicole first.
Thank you. Thank you all for having us. As Andrea mentioned, we're all really passionate about what we do, and I'm really here to represent Middlebrook and the amazing people who are at Middlebrook. We have embedded DBT into several settings. We're not going to go into exactly what DBT is today because you had a large presentation, I believe, in April. But your second slide tonight shows you the 3 tiers of support that we offer in the schools. The tier 1 level, just to remind you, is given through our life classes, through our and then also through some health classes as well. Tier 2 is given through small groups in the high school in the 2 out of the 4-day rotation, and then also at Middlebrook, small group classes run by either our counselors or our school psychologists. And then tier 3, what we're going to focus on tonight is our daily DBT classes given by our support center teacher at Middlebrook, and then through Emily Montgomery in the Flex program at the high school. So if you go to your third slide. So again, I'm here to represent Middlebrook and mostly the amazing Tanya Leonard, who you all know and love. She's actually running her children's color run today. She ran ours on Monday, so just does a few things, you know. And then also she's supported by Bonnie Schnitzler, who is our school social worker. And this is all through their program, the Support Center, which runs the daily DBT, and it's 3 daily classes through each stride class in the mornings. We try to hold them in the morning so that it helps kids who may have anxiety or worry about coming to school, come into school daily. And during these classes, we do DBT, but we also embed some social thinking and problem solving as well. And it really helps the students develop skills when they are dysregulated in school so they can go back to class, is really our ultimate goal. We've seen a significant success and different successes at many different levels for all the students. In particular, attendance, coming to school daily, their academic achievement scores. You know, testing is one thing, it's its own kind of animal. But when you're regulated and you feel good and you know that you can access your strategies and take deep breaths and hold ice packs and whatever helps you, it's implicit that your scores will go up, and also you're just ready for your learning for the day. So that's really what we try to focus on. And then also we've seen a significant decrease over the years in their arc of development over our 3 years at Middlebrook. Their services have decreased either through special education or 504, or students who may have been in Tanya's program don't necessarily go to Emily. So that's a really great thing. We want to make sure that we support students as they grow and develop, but we also want to increase their independence and let them fly as they can. So that's something that we're very proud of. And as again, I have to give most of the credit to Tanya and Bonnie and team. So, and then another layer for Middlebrook that we started embedding last year is the staff training, because you know, people were hearing about how well these kids are doing or how kids are doing well with the skills across their classes. And so last year, Tanya led a all-school training for all staff. And it was after school, and they learned all 4 modules just to help use similar language. We made beautiful posters for their rooms just to make sure that the vocabulary was more embedded in the classrooms. And then this year, Tanya ran a after-school group of high school and Middlebrook teachers and one administrator, I believe Bob O'Donnell, who attended the sessions. And they were 2-hour trainings after school, and they were funded by the PTA. Thank you, PTA, very much. And it was really to apply the DBT skills that the students were learning at home to the teachers, and then also to their classrooms. So the teachers loved it. They want more. They want to run another session. So hopefully we'll be able to do something like that again next year. And then finally, the parents of the students who attend the daily DBT classes, we offer monthly parent sessions where they go through which module and which skills they're learning so that they can take that language and those skills home and use it with their children. And those were offered by Zoom and in person. And then really we've just found that all of those wraparound and additional supports through the teachers, the staff, and the parents just help to support the kids more in all the environments. So we're very proud of everything they're doing.
It's a lovely anecdote when a 7th grade young man tells his father in a meeting, "Dad, it's time to practice radical acceptance."
Oh, my God.
Nothing better than when you hear that happen. So the kids are really owning those skills, and it's showing across the board. So we're very proud of that. And now we'll talk to Emily and Kathy about the FLEX program as part of our continuum of services here at Wilton High School.
Yep, so thank you for having us. The Flex program, I'm like so honored to be a part of and have been, and used to work at Middlebrook, so really could see the continuum of service from support center up to the Flex. But our program serves a group of students, and I would say, what Andrea said, the most fragile students. We definitely have seen an uptick in terms of the students accessing the Flex program. These students are identified as needing a continuum of both academic as well as emotional support. So we tend to have really bright kids, but the barrier to their education and succeeding is their emotional, often dysregulation or lack of coping strategies. We provide wraparound services for these fragile learners, with the idea of hoping that as they move through our program that they become more and more independent and we get them ready for life after high school. So the team at the high school consists of myself and Christina Dinaj, who's a psychologist who we work with, and 2 special ed teachers who are extraordinary, Emily Montgomery and Beth Ann Zarella. So it's a wraparound continuum of services that is available for the students as well as the parents. And that's kind of in a nutshell.
Okay, so the structure of our program, so it is a pretty large classroom and it also has the mental health team attached. So we're all kind of in one space, which is really easy for the kids. And kind of in the morning, it functions as like a home base and a check-in for our kids. So we're able to kind of get eyes on all of our kids, have a good read of kind of the projection of their day, and be proactive with using that DBT language and using skills. So if they are having a dysregulated day, how are we going to manage a 6-hour day of rigorous academic classes? So is it breaking it down into, let's start with 10-minute breaks at the start and then we'll get you back into class? Is it checking in halfway through your class, figuring out ways that meets the needs of those students and making it as successful as they're capable of being during that day? In addition, they have it scheduled into their day, so it is a special education service, so it's built into their block, and it's a place where they receive academic and emotional support. So like Andrea said and Kathy said, these kids are really smart and enrolled in really rigorous academic classes, and it's this push and pull of wanting to succeed in their classes and do well academically and achieve what they are capable, and also having this emotional barrier that often inhibits their ability to learn. So it's really challenging and it causes a lot of overwhelming feelings for them. So we are able to break down, a lot of the times they might not need direct academic support, but it's the executive functioning, it's communicating with their teachers, having them have their accommodations reached, all these things that kind of build a learner and a student, we help and support in that way. And on days when students are struggling and they might come out of an academic class and come seek our support, we are all trained in DBT and we all have the language, and also all of our kids are enrolled in our DBT wellness seminar, so they know the language. So they get like this scaffolded systematic instruction in the classroom, and then they're able to apply it daily when they come out of a class or when needed in our classroom throughout the day. And then like the last piece of the puzzle is Kathy and Christina run a parent DBT, so it's also used at home. So they get the instruction, it's applied when needed and when they're dysregulated, and then at home the parents use the same language and strategies as we use. So it's a full wraparound and it's really effective. And also for some of our more fragile kids, we also have flex academic classes. So it can be really daunting for a student to go into a classroom of 25 kids and sit and learn, and like we said, the emotions really inhibit their ability to learn at times. So these are small group instruction and it's project-based learning, so it's catered to the needs of of the learner, and it also directly aligns to the curriculum. So it gets them the information, they're able to learn in a comfortable, safe environment, and get their academics in a different setting rather than a full classroom of 25 kids. So with that, we asked our kids to give us some feedback on what Flex is to them. So,
And I was just gonna,
How
go
many
ahead.
kids are in the Flex program?
Oh, right now. That's a growing
Could change every
number.
day.
Yeah.
As
probably
of an hour
no
ago.
more than
Because
that.
I'm
Probably
sure
like
Yeah.
50-ish.
50?
Yeah.
And what percentage of parents do you feel are, just off the top of your head, engaged in the DBT program for parents?
I would say, probably about, of those 15%, 20%. I think some of it is the timing. We're gonna actually, our last wrap-up session is next Friday, and it's in the morning, and we're gonna have an in-person, which they've been asking for, so we're gonna do an in-person session. I think some of it is the timing. So it's either, in the morning, and some of the parents aren't able to do that, so we've kind of gone back and forth about when we should do it, when we would be able to have access to many of the parents. But it's been great, and they've been consistent, which, and we'll talk about some of their reflections also, because they were, I think they've really enjoyed it. And I think one of the things also is that for the kids, a safe place in a high school, and that's, I think, more than anything else. These kids, and I, having worked with them, were not just one hospitalization, but 2 or 3 hospitalizations in a given year, and then to try to step back into the rigor of Wilton High School, really regardless of what level class you're taking, they need that level of accommodation and a safety net, where in Middlebrook, you have the teams, so it's easier for the kids to come back, and they've got a group of teachers. Here, your teachers are all over the place, and so it's about communicating with the parents and communicating with the teachers, and helping them with the language of stepping back in, and that's just one of, the types of kids that we work with. So
Do they come in and out of the program? Do they say, I don't need this anymore, I can do this on my own?
yeah, some of them.
Or do they come back, or do they come mid-year and say, I can't manage this, I need to be in here? Is there that back and forth?
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, since it is a special ed service,
So they have to be under the umbrella of special ed?
yes. So they're identified with emotional disability.
Okay.
But there are times when students learn the skills, have the ability to access their day pretty seamlessly, and they're able to exit our program, which is really exciting
Yeah,
for
I
them.
bet.
And kind of go about, of course, we're always open arms to them if they need, but there are students who kind of figure it out and master these skills and learn the strategies to successfully go about their day without our support.
And in terms of coming in and out, typically, I would say the goal is to decrease the level of involvement.
Of
And
course.
that's what's been great to see. So whereas a freshman might have, or even someone who comes in as a sophomore, the idea is we're always talking about the independence of the skills and how can they problem solve and help them. And we think about life after high school, and what are you gonna do? We're not gonna be here, so you gotta
Yeah.
kinda.
I didn't know that they were under the special ed umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
So first they have to be under that umbrella, and then they come to you.
Right.
They have to be under that auspices. It can't be just.
At Middlebrook, you don't have to.
Yeah.
It's offered through
That's what
the
I
Stride
thought.
Block.
Mhm.
Yeah. So the Stride Block, they can be in 504, it can be students who are struggling. We keep the kind of the gate keys to, so it's not everybody, because there's one teacher, and if you need that daily support, there must be a reason. So we go through our SRBI process, and we also have a Students of Concern meeting. So we review and we talk about what kids need, just to make sure that it's really the kids who need the daily intervention, because you are losing a stride class, so you
Yeah.
aren't accessing either art or music or what have you. And to your second question, we do have students who decrease, that's our goal. Instead of every 6 days, daily for 6 days, sometimes it goes to 4 out of 6, or every other day. But we do have some students who graduate, and then they go to 7th grade or 8th grade, and they say, I have to come back. And and it comes from them largely.
Yeah,
So there are some who are like, whoa, I need to practice my skills again, so.
I would say pre the layer of DBT, what some of these kids, they would still absent themselves from class, but they would absent themselves and do nothing with it.
Yeah.
They would just,
Right.
they'd get the pressure release of leaving class,
Right.
but there wouldn't be the skill development to either get them back to class or to teach them how to stay in class, how to be anxious and be
manage
okay
it.
in class.
Right, and manage the
Right?
anxiety.
And so the goal of DBT is to recognize that it's not about never being anxious. It's about being anxious and knowing you're going to be okay.
Yeah,
Right? I got this. I can live with this
yeah,
and be okay. And so that's the skill. You know, what we like about DBT is that it is a teaching construct. It's about skill development,
Yeah.
right? Versus other forms of therapy that are not really suited to school. DBT is really very much suited to an educational environment. It's about teaching skills, implementing, applying those skills in multiple environments. So it's really a powerful tool for schools to have. And our next, you know, as you know, we tried to move it toward Cider Mill, and we'll be back. You know, because we see it as
No,
very
I would
powerful.
think it would be very powerful
We're doing
there.
some training with some staff members at Cider Mill to develop their skill level, to extend that continuum down. So we'll be back. You'll see me again on that issue.
good, good.
Okay?
The 50 or so students at the high school, do you see all of them every day?
No, not, I mean, some kids, we have kids that check in every single morning. Like, that's my safe place of 1,300 plus students. Like, I need to see us in the morning dancing around, smiling, like, okay, and then they move forward. And there are other kids who stop in once or twice a week, depends on what they need. And that is flexible. That
Yeah.
depends. Like, you know, someone has a situation outside of school that's untenable, and sometimes they just need a little, like, we're here, we've got you, let's see, get you to class, and then they can kind of do, you know, go on their way and then come back. But there's a wide range of situations that happen, and I think the other part is supporting the parents. And I think that was, I don't think I've ever, in my entire time being here, asked for like feedback in terms of like this, like, what do you think? And they just were just glowing. It was really nice to see some of the way that they felt supported by us, and particularly when you're right now dealing with mental health and hospitals or outpatient, and that's not their wheelhouse. I always say to them, it's not like if I had a law situation and I had to go to a lawyer, I would like have no idea how to navigate that. So I think that's part of what we do, is we also help them, how do you navigate the system to get your needs met as well as your kids. So it's kind of really is the full wraparound.
Do you want to go on to the parents or want to do the kids?
Would you like us to read some of the comments? You have them in front of you?
Pick a couple of your favorites.
Yeah, pick some.
I mean, the one that I like is, it's actually, I don't even know if I put it in here. It was, Flex provides me, this is from a kid, quote, "Flex provides me a safe place and well-being, a safe and well-being place where I'm allowed to feel however I feel in the moment." And I think just having that, you know, I think speaks to the Flex.
And then we could read some of what the parents said. You know, I'll read
Yeah.
the first one.
Yep.
So this is from a parent. Flex affords her the ability to untangle her necklace. She leaves her school feeling fed. She leaves for school well fed, with a smile on her face, and within minutes of entering the building, that necklace has the potential to unravel, to spiral, and suddenly the necklace is tangled beyond repair. Mrs. Weiss and Miss Montgomery don't look away from this. They never forgo being there for my daughter. How they break down obstacles is their superpower. They recognize the trigger she has and speaks the language in order to have her maintain calm in her perceived tsunami.
A combination that we're just pulling out some of it. Another quote is, "What Flex is for my child, an outlet for freedom of expression without judgment, criticism, or blame. A place to be with your closest friends, a personalized, intimate, small group setting where kids with learning challenges and social emotional needs can thrive. And what the parent part of it is for her, sharing techniques and managing behaviors, providing unconditional emotional support and fostering healthy social connections, utilizing the same skills at home and at school, which fosters continuity and reinforces the DBT language and strategies for parents, children, and teachers.
And then the last one we'll leave you with is Kathy, Christina, and Emily and others have been nothing short of amazing over the past 2 years. If it was not for this program, my daughter would surely have to leave Wilton High School for an alternative school. She was failing miserably, not attending, and had zero motivation. The personal education, coaching, and therapy she receives on a daily basis has changed the way she views school, kept her interested in functioning, and with the feeling that her educators actually care about her well-being.
That's pretty great.
Yeah, they were wonderful.
Amazing.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, bravo.
Really, that's great.
Well, can I ask
Yeah.
one question not related to DBT?
Sure.
I think last year we were talking about Middlebrook and some of our students that receive special education services, keeping them in the classroom more and pulling them out. Have you guys been able to achieve that?
Yes, and with our new schedule. Thank you all. We are certainly working towards that now, and through our skill groups, are having kids more and more in the classroom and accessing world language. So we are well on our way to our goal. So thank you, friends.
Yeah, thank you.
Andrea, I don't know if anybody else, before I ask a question, anybody else have one? Is there kind of like DBT light, like the idea of like that framework or that language kind of just being embedded almost like in that tier one? Like
I think that's
how-
the work that Nicole was talking about.
Okay.
That we're trying at Middlebrook to give. We're not asking teachers to do DBT therapy. Right? I apologize, that's me. Sorry.
Yeah.
We're not asking teachers to do DBT therapy, just like we're not asking parents to do DBT therapy. The power of giving people the language
Right.
of DBT is to understand the skill we're trying to develop so that in the moment, if you see a student in distress, you can remind them of the skill that they could use to help master themselves, right? So it's like a teacher in a reading class reminding them of the reading strategy before they start to read. A teacher can give a little language, or the poster in the room can just remind the student enough that, yeah, this is how I feel when I feel this way, and here's a skill I can use to help me master myself. So I think as we develop DBT across the continuum, part of the piece is to think about how we give information to teachers and parents in support of that work. Not that they're going to ask them to do DBT therapy, we're not. But we do want to give them the language to support a child in the moment, in a short burst of just remind them of the language, remind them of the skills they have.
Yeah, I was even thinking to some extent, even in a more like broader context, the way, our kids, like our kindergartners or our first graders now kind of use the language of ruler, and that carries them up with them.
There's a lot of DBT light in Ruler.
Okay.
When
So-
you get to the meta moments,
Yeah.
and there's a
So-
lot of DBT light in
Yeah.
all of that work
Yeah.
that helps kids kind
Yeah.
of identify how they feel,
Right.
which is the first step. You got to understand how you feel,
Yeah.
and then you have to think about how can I.
So that language is not just something that's familiar to the child that's in the program, that it's kind of,
You guys
Yeah.
are also
Yeah.
pushing it into the health classes. So some
Health
lessons are
classes,
being
yep.
taught to our gen ed kids
Right.
throughout. So
Yeah.
hopefully it'll get
The skills are
more and more.
beneficial to
to everybody, right?
You know, the skills are good skills for all of us to have. Some kids need more direct
Right.
instruction in the
Yes.
skills. Some kids can pick it up and run with it through a health class, through the kind of the thread through the curriculum.
Yeah. No, and even just the way kids talk to each other or help each other.
Yes, I love when the little ones talk about radical acceptance. It's my favorite.
I'm now I'm just waiting for my 6-year-old to bust that out.
Mom, it's time for radical excitement.
I
It's
just
the
wanted to
best
mention
thing.
that that's a lot of the work that Kim Zemo is doing across the district. So all the different tiers of SEL, and so from ruler all the way up to intensive DBT is where it's all embedded. And Middlebrook has taken all of the different modules and embedded it into the different tiers. And so like tier 1 in health classes, and some of the life classes by the counselors, each module within DBT over a student's 3 years will be covered. So she did a lot of work with that with Tanya and the counselors and the mental health team.
And the high school has standalone DBT elective classes now, wellness seminar, which is amazing, and they're getting, now we have doubled that. So I think it's kind of getting word out with even the kids, like, oh, I would take a wellness class, you know. And by the way, I have a daughter in college who there is wellness classes in college you can also take, so it's just a continuum now. So,
It's fantastic.
yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
Bravo.
Thank you. Saving lives every day,
Right.
quite literally.
If Chartwell.
Bobby, do you want to come up and introduce your team? Sure.
Yeah, that works.
So welcome. Thank you. Chartwell's first board meeting. Why don't you do me? Well, I can introduce you all. Why don't you introduce yourselves and just kind of tell?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. Go ahead.
So, good evening, Superintendent Smith, esteemed board members, administration, staff, parents, and students. My name is Bill Tomlinson. I'm the director of Wilton Public Schools Chartwell's Food Service Program. Thank you for allowing us to take the opportunity to present to you tonight our quarterly business review. Next slide, please. You see on the right, we have the agenda. It's pretty packed tonight, so we're just going to go ahead and dive into it. Next slide.
And I'm Bobby Martin. I'm the area director for Chartwell's. I've been with Compass for about 10 years, a little over 10 years. 2 years with Chartwell's. Prior was with Morrison Healthcare. And I have business in most of Fairfield County and upwards to Central Connecticut and into Hartford County. So, big span. Bill's been in the district now a little over a year. He comes from Westport as a chef manager and assistant director there for 6 years. And then on our screen too is Stephen Rogowski. He's our chef manager and focused at the high school. And Damaris Vargas is our administrative assistant as a part of the support and room. Next slide.
And I am on this slide there. My name is Sarah Patterson. I'm the regional dietitian with Chartwell's. So I act as a support for Wilton and the other districts that we have in the New England area, along with this great team of coworkers. And I have been with Compass Group for almost 10 years myself. This is my 6th school year with Chartwell's. I'm based out of Providence, but previous to COVID and everything that has happened in the past 3 years, I would come out here regularly to see the great things that they were doing here in the different cafeterias. So now that things are back to normal, I hope to get out here again more often and see the events that are happening.
And then you'll see the rest of the team there. That's okay. Tom Logano, he's our regional vice president, who I report to. Samantha Keem is our marketing director. Our regional executive chef, Chase Sobelman, and then Trudy Gao is our financial analyst. As Sarah mentioned, she's in the New England region. Most of that team, other than Trudy, is also in the New England region, and our regular support to all our districts. Next.
I wanted to introduce you to our Wilton team, our local team here on site. On the top left is our high school, Wilton High School team. To the right of that is our Miller Driscoll team. You can see they have some fun cartoon character shirts. We're going to get into that later, what that is. On the lower left is our Team Middlebrook team, and on the right is our team
So we adjusted the agenda slightly. Want to get to the exciting stuff, so we'll talk about a little bit of the boring stuff in the moment. But I wanted to highlight our financial performance over the last few years. You'll reference, you can reference the 18-19 year. We were still on the NSLP program, National School Lunch program, which now we've been off of now for a few years, right before COVID. Actually, first year off the program was the year we shut down due to COVID. And then we weren't in session 2021, and then we reopened with some restrictions 2021, 22, and now we have our current year fully open, normal service model 22, 23. You'll see the bars seem pretty comparable, 18, 19 to current, but that's also reflective of a reduction in enrollment of 300 students. So ultimately, our performance is pretty solid with that reduction in enrollment and coming off the program. NSLP program, if you don't know, there's some reimbursements and dollars provided from the state to support the program based on running the USDA guidelines. Next slide. Here shows more of a revenue profitability. So again, the sales number at the top and then the profitability at the bottom. But again, showing that performance in this year, making up for some of that lost in those 2 COVID years. But more so comparing that we're in a much better position off program with greater participation.
So I want to talk a little bit about our menu development process. That's something that typically I do in the middle of summer for the start of the new year. And what I do is I review sales menus from the prior year and get some feedback from new menu concepts and incorporate that into our menu cycle. I get marketing and training support from our regional support team, and any revisions and student feedback, I use that as well. To the right, you'll see that our monthly promotions that we are going to be talking about in the next couple slides is Student Choice, Discovery Kitchen, and Mood Boost. And all of these really experience and optimize the student dining experience. Next slide.
Yeah, so these are our branded concepts, some of them. The ones on the top are more of our classic concepts that you'll see in most schools. They're incorporated in several menus, no matter the grade level. The ones in the bottom are more, they're newer, and were introduced post-COVID. So a lot of research and development, trends, seeing what the kids like. Mac and Cheeseology is what it says. It's a mac and cheese program. Road Trip is connected to various regions throughout the country. So focusing on different states and their preferred food items that they celebrate. And then Revolution Noodle and Veg Out, both have been very successful at the high school here. Next slide.
I wanted to just highlight some of the district-wide concepts and models that we've been doing. On the top left is our Miller Driscoll service line. It's accenting a lot of the fresh fruits and vegetables and fresh fruit and yogurt bento box. Below that is our Cider Mill service line, again offering the fresh fruits and vegetables. To the right, on the right side, is our Middlebrook pizza program, where we offer a lot of variety, a couple different slices of pizza, variety. And in the middle is our Revolution Noodle Bowl that Bobby mentioned about we're running at the high school. And this really gives the students a way to choose what they want and to build their own meal. Next slide.
So these are some of our core engagement programs. This is in addition to those concepts, and they are what they say, they are engagement, different levels. Discovery Kitchen is more broad. We do that at the high school all the way down to elementary levels. And it's more of a community engagement, getting the faculty, students, even parents involved, and a lot of education around nutritious foods and nutrition education in connection to what they see and eat in the cafeteria. Student Choice This is generally middle school, high school. We offer a couple of those concepts you saw on the a couple previous slides, and they are able to make that choice. So we do a virtual voting. They can do it on their phone if they have them. And at the lower levels, we do it like a paper ballot. But that they choose, and the winner is runs through the cafeteria the next week on the menu. Mood Boost, more of a K-8 program, K-5. There's some Moodies, we call them. They're like cartoon characters, color coordinated with the different food groups. Different fruits and vegetables, and that we educate them and try to engage them in these fruit and vegetables. If they're not generally interested, it might be an opportunity using the characters as a way to engage them. And they also educate them on the different moods that they may have based on eating these fruits and vegetables. So calm, smart, confident. So it's a solid engagement in getting the kids active in healthy eating.
This is our Discovery Kitchen program I ran at Cider Mill last December. It ties in with one of our local, our monthly promotionals as well. Let's Get Cooking, and what that is it takes the recipe I made, which was an cranberry apple relish, and ties it in with them tasting something in the school, and then bringing that home and then engaging their parents to make it with them at home. And we were able to utilize also fresh local apples sourced in Connecticut, so we're looking for local produce as well. So it's a great way to tie that in. Next slide. Student Choice, as Bobby just mentioned, was a program running at the high school, and we'll continue to run it next year. And it's just a great way for students to be able to choose between two items and select what they like the best, and then we'll feature that in upcoming menus. So it's really,
which one won?
The flame one. It was definitely over the roost, the burger. So yeah, it was an exciting day. They really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I had it on the screen. They were really engaged. Definitely loving the samples. So, staying on trend, this smoothie station. This had been in the works over the last couple of years around marketing it. So there's the smoothies in general that have been successful at the high school. Chartwell's has just come up with a full marketing program for it. Monica here, who's one of our high-performing employees, had a project to do, so we rolled it out at the high school, I think last month that was done. Doing some samples and really, accentuating that marketing kit. So very successful. We got some student testimonials that went over really well. But again, it's just getting them engaged and getting that feedback and knowing where to guide the menus. Next slide.
Still staying on trend, offering fresh roll sushi. We have a local vendor that we have come into the school, in the high school, and hand roll sushi. It's a huge hit with kids and the administration and staff. It's just a great way. It's to break up the variety of what they normally have every day, and it's just a really popular item. So we're going to continue to do that throughout the year, once a month, maybe twice a month for high school. Next slide. Made to order pizza program. This is something that was done pre-COVID, and I wanted to bring it back because now that I have the opportunity that we're fully staffed in all the schools, especially the high school, this gives us a great opportunity to really make some homemade items and really build items to what people want and tailor to what their tastes are. So we have a full menu there. They can choose whatever they like. And the pizza's made to order right in front of them, and it's cooked in 2 to 3 minutes, and the kids absolutely love it. And it's offered by a nice, healthy side salad as well.
Any chance we can partner with Pepe's?
The Hypomaster culinary class. So we, back in February, so as I mentioned Monica earlier, this program is to take some of our frontline staff and grow and develop them into salaried managers. So the part of the program is a culinary module. So what we did was, in the master culinary class is something that we do quarterly throughout the region. So we select a school, and usually is a down week, so this one was during February break. And we engaged some local salaried managers from different schools, in addition to some frontline staff. So this one, we highlighted our high performer program selectees, Monica being one of them, and they have a culinary module that they do. So this was able to sort of bridge those two programs. And so they did some safety training, they did some preparation training, and they were able to put these plates together at the end, the different groups, and they received a certificate at the end. So it was good to do it over nice and open at the Wilton High School kitchen.
great.
So, good times.
I want to take a few minutes to talk about one of my employees, Manal Azam. She is been with us over a year, but she has a history, and I wanted to share that because it really ties in with the Wilton community. About 6 years ago, she came from Syria. She was a refugee. She had to flee from Syria, and she had an amazing journey, and it was a lot that she went through. And it was great that she was able to find her way in here at Wilton and partner with the Wilton Interfaith Committee. And they took her in and gave her a home, gave her some skills, and she's been a great asset. I mean, she's a mother of 5, working full-time, and just recently, last year in December, she got her citizenship in the United States. So everything I just mentioned, on top of that, she's an amazing woman, and she's just,
Does she work for you?
she works for Chartwells.
So I was part of the group that picked her up at the airport.
Oh, that's great.
And I was part of the group that got their kids with Kathy and Cider Mill and walked them, helped them navigate the public schools. But I've known her, I mean, this is a real success story because now all her kids are citizens as well.
And that's why I wanted to share that, because I think it's really important.
I didn't know she worked for you. I thought
She's in one of the schools as cafeteria.
is she?
Yeah.
She's in
Oh, good
middle
for
school
her.
right now. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great.
So it's just great to see,
Yeah, it's a great local story.
Yeah.
Yeah, her kids are amazing too. It's a beautiful family.
Next slide is School Lunch Hero Day. This is a day I wanted to also really celebrate my employees. This day is dedicated once a year to Chartwell's employees, to really honor them and show them they're the backbone of what we do. They're there every day. They love what they're doing. They're there serving up happy and healthy to their students and staff every day. So I'd like to just take the day and honor them. I mean, superheroes come with capes, but these people wear their aprons in front. But they truly are the superheroes of the cafeterias. So I like to just honor them.
And this is my slide. So MenuWorks is our menu management tool that we use behind the scenes, and the great thing about it is that even though Wilton is off the National School Lunch Program, when Bill goes in to plan his menus, he can use MenuWorks as a tool and still look at what the National School Lunch guidelines are. When everything is compliant according to NSLP standards, everything turns green and has a little check mark in the system. And if you're missing food groups, it'll have a little red X to kind of tell you what you need to add to make your menus fit that meal pattern. So with MenuWorks, Bill can just double check that he's offering the different components, the grains, the proteins, fruits, vegetables, milk, all of those things that we think of as a balanced, nutritious meal. But still have the flexibility to do the fun things like sushi, because you would never see sushi, probably never see sushi on a national school lunch program. It's just really hard to fit that kind of meal into the standards. So the benefits of that and the increased variety of being off the program. And then especially at the lower level, the elementary kids, MenuWorks communicates with NutriSlice. So I don't know if any of you have used NutriSlice before to look at what's on the menus. You can look at it on a laptop, desktop computer, an app on your phone. But it's great because it takes all the information that's in MenuWorks, and it's our forward-facing platform where you can look at the menu, you can see what we're serving in the cafeteria. You can also look at the nutrition information and any of the allergens too. So it helps people who have kids in the schools that have food allergies to navigate that, which can be really scary sometimes. And then annual training. So a lot of what I do in the schools is behind the scenes. I do come out and attend events and visit the different cafeterias, but I do more kind of behind the scenes things like trainings. So coming out or doing a virtual allergen training, production record training, yeah, and then the beverages we. But so Bill and any one of our Chartwell's districts has access to these trainings that are required on an annual basis, just to make sure that we're serving the kids safely, that have the allergies, and then the production records really help us to keep track of A, what we're serving, and B, if the kids are liking what we're serving. You know, are we making enough of an item? And we can go back in and kind of see, okay, the elementary school was on a field trip this day. We need to, modify that for the future. So trainings around those topics. And then I don't know. The next slide.
No, not
Yeah.
yet.
Okay.
Took that one out.
Yeah.
So what's next? As we strategize and plan for next year, our kids, many of our kids have much more advanced palates than we do these days. So Global Eats is one of our new concepts. It's 4 focus countries, Italy, Mexico, India, and China. So we've launched this in a couple of districts. There's a whole program that goes with it, this passport that they can utilize that shows that they've participated and tried the different foods based on the different countries. So we're really excited about launching this in Wilton next year at the high school level and middle school levels. Mood Boost, again, we spoke of that program, so we really want to get those monthly events going, rotating through Miller Driscoll and Cider Mill. I know we've connected with Kathy about planning for this next year at Miller Driscoll. And so yeah, really putting a lot of focus, again, on the education and connecting the students to the nutritious piece of it.
Just wanted to talk Sorry. Just wanted to talk quickly about continuing sustainability partnerships throughout the district. I know that when I came in here, there were a lot of initiatives that were kind of put on the back burner, and I'm glad to see that Tammy Thornton, who I'm working with now, brings a lot of that back and working with her to get that front and center and starting those initiatives again. So some of those initiatives are listed there, but I'm really excited that Tammy's kind of by my side to get those initiatives going again, because it's been a few years since they've been first started. Yeah, pre-COVID. So.
And then in addition, just communication, just utilizing the website. I know the website's been updated. We have a spot there. And just using that as a source of communication with a monthly newsletter, just getting the information out there. And coordinating some school-specific cafeteria advisory boards. Getting participation from the students, feedback, parents as well, faculty. We run these at least quarterly in other districts, but it's definitely a way to keep everyone up to speed and obviously to incorporate some of that feedback. And then we'd love to come back here and do a quarterly presentation here at the board.
We're going to have to bring some food or the chef with you next time.
Of course.
Smoothies.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I just want to share with the board again. I was speaking with the board earlier this evening and shared with them, we'd had a couple meetings with the Chartwell folks, with Tammy, with some others, just to really kind of look at the program and reset. And, Bill has been a tremendous asset since he started. He's been with us just over a year now and really helped get the cafeterias back on solid footing. It's been really great to see the participation grow. I think there was a lot of energy coming out of the last conversation we had about a week ago, thinking about some of the new opportunities we can collaborate around, trying to invite more involvement with parents, really, paying attention to nutrition and options, and, some of their Chartwell's freestanding programs fit in nicely to some of the conversations we had. So I think it's going to be a really productive partnership looking forward, and the more we can do to solicit feedback from our kids and, create that loop so they're constantly telling you, what they're enjoying and what they're not, the better we'll get. But, Bill's been, really terrific for us, and so thank you for that, Bobby.
Thank you.
Quick question, what's the best direct line of communication if parents wanted to reach out? Like who would it?
Directly to me.
Okay.
And, there's a lot of information on the Wilton District website.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit underutilized, or it's hard to navigate. We're working on trying to streamline that or bring it front and center. Maybe adding a link into the like app so that they have more information and can contact myself or anyone if they have questions.
Awesome.
But the information is there. It's just kind of hard to navigate right now.
And then my second question, how is breakfast going at Middlebrook?
Phenomenal.
Oh, good.
Yes, we ran the pilot program last week, very successful. Jory was very much on board with it. He's accepting of it. We're going to continue to do that through the end of this year, and then in the fall we're going to enhance that program and build upon that.
Great.
So it's been great.
Great.
No, thank you very much. I think this is like our first full year back and kind of getting back on track. I think the schools, and I know that with the littler kids and with parents, I think they're also really looking forward to having the opportunity to kind of collaborate a little bit with you around snack choices and other, not main course kind of choices. And the fact that you're engaging them and also taking a global perspective and bringing all that. I have a kindergartner who has probably tried more foods this year than, I could ever get him to try on his own. So I think it's really fabulous.
I like to hear that. That's exactly what I like to hear. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Any questions?
What are the, for someone who hasn't had a kid in elementary school for 8 years, what are the main differences now not on the national lunch program? Is there less, there used to be a lot of vegetable waste. Is the amount of food waste declined? Or?
Well, it's interesting you bring that up around the waste, because just looking at some of our costs, when I showed that bar graph, and I was digging into less students, more variety, but more variety based on what they like, so that requirement of the NSLP program says you have to take X amount of veggie, X amount of fruit, and so on. They take it just to call it a reimbursable meal, but they don't always eat it. Mm-hmm. So now it's more around the effort to create the variety, still make the fruits and vegetables available to them. That's the piece where it's the perception of that they're not available. They are available, but you can't force them to take it. So we come up with creative ways, through this Discovery Kitchen, through the Mood Boost piece, as Bill had showed, that relish he created. To engage them. Maybe they'll like it this way versus just the standard carrot or the standard cranberry. So it's really the engagement piece. If they're not seeing that at home, if they're not exposed to different variety of foods at home, then that's our piece to make it a little more exciting.
Do the kids even at Just get more choice now? Because when my kids were there, it was, here's the meal, take it.
Yeah, there's Bill can speak to that.
I like to think of our food program as they graduate through the succession of the schools. They graduate with their food and their palates. So again, in Miller Driscoll, they're K through 2. They're very limited on what they like, and as they get to the next level, we expand on that by offering more variety. And we always have our staff encourage the kids to take a fruit and a vegetable and remind them that that's part of the meal, so that they're not always just taking their lunch and leaving. So we have that as well. And then when we get to Middlebrook and the high school, there is still a lot of variety to offer with fresh fruits and vegetables front and center right when they check out, rather than grabbing that snack that they really want. And the high school, again, we're still offering the fresh fruits and vegetables, but obviously their palates are are well adjusted in what they like, and the variety is just endless to high school.
But K through 2, I mean, Miller Driscoll, we're still doing 2 hot options and then a cold fun lunch
Yep.
as well. So they do have choices.
Yeah,
There's generally a
several
core
choices.
menu item, a secondary if they don't like that initial hot option, or they can do a fun lunch, which is generally a cold meal.
And can they buy chips at Miller Driscoll?
Not chips.
No, not at Miller
chips.
Driscoll. Cider Mill.
Cider Mill they can.
Yeah.
Cider Mill, that's the option. Miller Driscoll is just popcorn and pretzels, healthier options.
Other questions?
Anybody else?
Well, thanks for taking the time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Mrs. Kuhn, you're up.
And we're so excited.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm hungry. All right. More talk about the math scores. So I'm going to channel my inner Dr. Smith here tonight. So I'm presenting for him and then I'm presenting for me. So thanks for letting me talk about the math score. Here we go. We have a lot to celebrate. All right, so just take a look. Soak it in.
Just drop the mic and walk out, Kathy.
Okay.
That's it. That's all you need.
Like I said, we are very excited about our math scores. I do want to just say one thing first before we get too excited. Yesterday I had a faculty meeting that was titled Celebrations of All Things Miller Driscoll. I really wanted my staff to hear that it's not all about MAP scores. So I'm not going to give you that presentation because it was about 40 minutes long. But it celebrated the parent climate survey data, the student climate survey data. Every single member of my leadership team celebrated their team. We celebrated the coaching survey data, and we threw in the MAP data. So while this is really exciting, it wouldn't be as exciting if all the other things also weren't, exciting. So, we like to triangulate. I think we quadrangulated or something. I don't know. There was a lot of data. So if you can just take a look, I think there was a lot of growth over the year. And later on, when we look at the cohort data, you'll see that especially in kindergarten, these were the highest scores that we've, had at Miller Driscoll in my time being in kindergarten.
I mean, have we
Usually
ever
in
had 90?
what?
Have we ever had a 90 before in any?
I know, that's second grade, right?
Like,
But even in kindergarten, usually we end the year kind of where we were in the winter. So in the past, the trend has been that kindergarten in the spring is somewhere in the 60s, first grade in the spring is usually somewhere in the 70s, and second grade is usually somewhere in the 80s. So, overall, I think the scores are a lot higher than they've been. And yes, when you look at that math in grade 2, ending at 90%, it's kind of incredible.
It's more
But
than
ready?
incredible.
Out of that 90%, 73% of the kids were above the 80th percentile.
It's incredible.
that's crazy.
Now, you also have to remember, we take a very different test than everybody else. So the test the little kids take is very different than the test that the kids take from 3 to 8. So you can't compare. And by the time they take it the last time in second grade, they've taken it, 8 times. So we really should be rocking it. But it really does look at foundational skills, and that's been our focus. So here are those great charts that Matthew makes that show, again, growth over time. And we like to see the red decreasing and the green and yellow increasing. There's always a caution when looking at intervention and special services because over the year, which he said he's going to change, Matthew's going to change next year, but they don't account for the change in students. So intervention looks so great, but just remember that if kids don't, make the growth expected in intervention, then we
usually put them into the special education process, and oftentimes they qualify. So we're still really proud of our special ed numbers. So that's K reading. We'll flip through these pretty quickly. First, do we have K? Is it all reading first? Okay.
Yeah.
And then grade 1 reading. So look at that. Look at intervention. I mean, come on. Right? Isn't it so exciting?
It really is.
Right. Okay. Such a nerd when it comes to data, but it's very exciting. Again, same thing, second grade. We are looking at, again, the special education piece, but of course, as the texts get longer, you know, you not only need your decoding and your fluency, but you need your stamina to be able to comprehend. So that gets a little trickier in second grade. But overall, we think the numbers are again, headed in the right direction. So here's math in kindergarten. We don't have formal intervention in kindergarten because we only have one math intervention. So there's no data for that. But overall, again, when you look at all the students and even the students just in general ed, it's amazing growth for these little kids who are 4 and 5 and 6 taking this test.
I know.
Right? I know. Mm-hmm. There's grade 1, math. Look at that intervention. I'm just going to say her name. It's Carol Maxwell. She is our one lone math interventionist. So as with reading, we have a lot of reading interventionists who, again, work really hard and work as a team. But those math intervention numbers are, you know, credited to Carol Maxwell. Same with second grade. So again, we're really proud of our scores. I'm sure you want to know how we did it. So here's the cohort data. So again, you can see over time the growth of the kids. So we really think we've done some pretty good recovery since, you know, the pandemic. And then we're going to do math. Where's math?
That 90 is amazing.
The 90 is amazing. Remember at the budget workshop where I was like, please, please, please let me accelerate my illustrative math implementation? You know, just saying.
So that class, though, that second grade class has always been a strong, is it, like, what's the magic? Is it?
Well, if you look at them, right, they were at 64% in kindergarten.
Yeah.
Remember how I said usually K is like around 60s? And then 69 in first grade, and then they went up to 90.
Yeah, I guess 69 to 90 is,
And-
yeah.
That's a big jump.
Yeah.
This second grade class, this whole year, they had IM?
They did? Mm-hmm.
And did they have any last year in first grade?
There were a group of teachers who piloted a couple of the units, and then they all piloted one unit at the end of the year, which is
Okay.
what we did this year in first grade.
Okay.
And first grade piloted a unit, and then they loved it so much that then they also did the measurement unit, which was, I think, after the test, though. And kindergarten has already started piloting some of the centers, so, from illustrative math. They're very excited.
Yeah. So can I take a minute and just talk about process? So.
So, well, just a couple other highlights. Foundational skills we're really proud of. So at kindergarten and first grade, when you look at the ELA scores, right, they're broken out into 4 different strands. We have worked a lot in changing the reading program since I've been at Miller Driscoll to focus on those foundational skills. And kindergarten was at 82% with foundational skills, and grade 1 was at 83%. Kindergarten also was at 81% in math on the operations and algebraic thinking strand. If Trudy was here, she'd be dancing up and down. It's like a very important strand when it comes to the thinking about math, and I already told you about the good news about second grade. So again, just remember it's a very different test. It still adapts. Kindergartners still get some things that we just go, wow, really? Like there were some kindergartners who got some multiplication. There were some kindergartners who got 2 passages, story 1 and story 2, and it didn't read it to them. And then the question was, what's the same about this story? And then multiple choice questions. I tried to say to the teachers, if the kids are getting those, that means they're doing really well because the test gets harder. But I will say it's a little distressing for the kids because they really want to do well. They really do. And some of them get a little bit stressed out and take a little too much time. So sometimes it's okay to not know. You can keep going. I think the biggest thing that we do, which is just like they do at Cider Mill, and actually we learned how to do IETs from Cider Mill, but our teachers are incredibly collaborative working in IETs. And this year they set their goals, so their professional goals, by IET, which was kind of great because then they would collaborate around what they were doing, and even when they had their scores, they were looking at scores, they were looking at student work. And they set those goals. So we're actually going to have even some end-of-year meetings as IETs so they can celebrate together.
That's awesome.
And then there's coaching, which I love coaching. And I have always, too, invested more staff in coaching than intervention because I think it's important to improve Tier 1 as much as possible. And we do that through the coaching. So we do have intervention, but we have had more coaching in the, up until now, up until probably starting next year. We've had more coaching than we've had intervention. And I think it pays off because, if you do it with the classroom, if you, train the classroom teachers, then everybody's getting the benefit of that instruction. And then I will say, again, shout out to our interventionists. So for those kids who need a little extra, our interventionists are highly trained in both reading and math, and they work really hard with the kids and meet their needs. So it takes a village and, a lot of support. And again, not just MAP scores, but all those other things kind of coming together. So big celebration.
You talk about play workshop for a second because you made a connection.
I did. I forgot. So we also, on Monday and Tuesday, we oriented 250 tiny preschoolers that came to kindergarten orientation. And so I shared, this was my shtick at the beginning. Sorry, Kevin, you can hear it again. Here's a recap of the last 7 years that I've been principal. Construction, 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 COVID, COVID, COVID. And then I said this year, we implemented Play Workshop, and we actually got the highest scores we've ever had in kindergarten. And I don't think it's an accident, so I'll leave you with that. Thanks for reminding me.
No,
I just love what's going on. I have, this, beyond the board, I have a kindergartner, and I just love what's going on with Play Workshop. And I just think what it's doing, and having a recent kindergartner that didn't have Play Workshop, I just see the way he talks about things and makes connections to things, and tells me about what he did in Play Workshop and what him and his friends talked about and what they learned. And I see him, taking those skills to other things, to play dates, and connecting it to other stories when we're reading books, and just the language that he's using. And I think that there's something about kind of almost like a safe place for them to try their skills, to actively, hone them in a constructive manner, but it doesn't feel kind of forced or heavy because they're playing.
Developmentally, it's appropriate.
Yeah, but I would love to see that type of, those elements, carry through, in ways as they get older throughout the program. What's the Play Workshop version? What does that look like for a first grader? Or what does that look like for a second grader? Or even especially with some of our kids that are struggling from, COVID, SEL and isolation, those types of developmental difficulties. What does that even look for a third grader or a fourth grader? How can those ideas be implemented? But I think it's been really tremendous.
Yeah. And while the other grades don't do Play Workshop, have that time set aside, they do utilize purposeful play. and they do, you know, lots of playful things within their instruction and the things they do with partnerships and, you know, again, even the centers for illustrative math and the, you know, the games the kids play together, it's, you know, it's a lot of really good interaction, and it fosters that oral language, which is a, you know, that's a big part of what we do at our school. It's kind of the basis for everything else that you're gonna learn, so.
Yeah.
It's great. Thanks for letting me celebrate.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for letting us celebrate with you.
Yeah, pretty great.
Fran and Parent Square.
Yes. Well, thank you for having me tonight. This time of year is typically when, if there are new technologies and new systems, we begin, resourcing them and setting them up. And this year we have this particular system, which is something that actually happened as something that was, kind of given to us in a sense, because earlier in the year, after we'd gone to a brand-new website with Gabbard, you may all recall that was, we had gone from Final Site and we moved over to Gabbard. We have a new website as of the beginning of this school year. This wonderful little company that we had, gone with and were so committed to was bought out. So it was acquired by a company called Parent Square. Parent Square is a comprehensive communication tool and has lots of different parts of it that I'm going to go into in a minute. But they didn't have a website, so that was actually their interest in acquiring Gabbard. So at this point, Parent Square is our website, but we also, as a result of the acquisition, have it to do lots more. So I'm going to go into kind of a step-by-step, do a little bit so that you can see what it will look like and how we're actually going to deploy it to all the parents and implement it, and then actually go into how this is going to support a much bigger goal in terms of communication. So on to the next slide. This is a couple of minutes, but it's worth actually seeing because it'll give you, it's a little video, it'll give you kind of like an overview of Parent Square as this platform that really is going to try to actually put a lot of different tools in one place. So just, can you play that?
Thanks for visiting Parent Square. Our goal is to help you streamline your communication and parent engagement efforts across your schools. Parent Square unifies communication for all stakeholders and is 100% parent-centric. That means that everyone is using the same platform, including teachers, principals, staff, admin, even the superintendent. Here, we're logged in as a principal at Lincoln Elementary School. As an admin in Parent Square, I know exactly what's going on at my school and have full access and insight into all school-to-home communication. I can also send out messages to the entire school, or I can send to specific grade levels, classrooms, or groups. We integrate and sync on a nightly basis with your student information system to ensure accurate reach at all times and minimal effort for all users to get started. There are 3 main ways to communicate in Parent Square: alerts and notifications, posts, and private chats. Let's start by sending out an emergency alert from the app. Traditional one-way alerts and emergency notifications deliver as phone calls, emails, texts, or app notifications. You can also send alerts from the web portal. The second way to communicate in Parent Square is via a post. Sending posts are for day-to-day communication, used by teachers for their classroom communication and administrators for school, or district-wide communication. A teacher has access to send messages to their classroom, grade level, and select groups only, and roles can be restricted even further. Posts include plenty of different features, such as photos and files, links, and item requests. If you're sharing an event, you can quickly add it to your event calendar, which syncs with your existing calendars. You can also request RSVPs, ask for a few volunteers, or even set up online payments. You can also send forms electronically through Parent Square. Paper permission slips often end up lost at the bottom of students' backpacks. Ensure your important forms are delivered directly to parents by adding a digital form with optional electronic signature to your post. You can also send out newsletters with our newsletter template option. We build everything in-house, so the look and feel will remain the same, whether you use one or all of our add-ons. The post will reach parents via email, text, or app notification, depending on their preference. The third main way to communicate in Parent Square is via private chats, one-to-one or one-to-many. Parents can also initiate these private chats if they want to reach their child's teacher, and all communication is done via the private portal or app. Now that everyone at your school or district is using the same communication platform, we can gather statistics for you and help measure not only reach and delivery, but also parent engagement and usage. Also, admins can assign different roles with restricted access, so you know with confidence that your staff are communicating with the right group, class, and grade level at all times. A district account will have super user access available to communicate district-wide alerts and announcements, as well as insight and access to all self-communication, including private chats. As you can see, there's no need to go outside of Parent Square for any of your communication and parent engagement needs. All features are available at Lincoln Elementary, but you can start with as few or as many of our features as you like, since we offer 3 different packages. I hope you enjoyed learning more about Parent Square. I look forward to discussing how we can help engage your school community.
So exciting, right? Love those kind of things. But, so, I mean, if you kind of followed all that, it is a very deep tool. It has a lot of different elements to it. And as you all know, we use School Messenger right now. School Messenger, this is going to replace it as of July 1st. And what one of the big differences I like to say is that if you kind of look at what we're doing with School Messenger right now, there's a limited number of licenses that we actually have through that. What you probably noticed is that Parent Square, depending on how we roll it out and what we want to do, has unlimited number of licenses. So it's one package that not only could we expand who uses it at each school, admins and executive assistants, but we can add to that students. For example, we are going to replace Remind, which is currently being used at the high school as a text-based system. This will do that for students as well. And as you probably also noticed, it actually will in the future, as we kind of think about and really do this in a purposeful way, can provide teachers and other leaders the ability to communicate, all under one place. The communication is done in all of these different ways. I just wanted you to see it all on one page in terms of text, email, push notifications, the voice calls. We're able to integrate with social media, our website, and I'll show you that in a little bit. You can either use the web portal, so you can go onto your laptop and go to the Parent Square site, or you can have an app. There's a Parent Square app that you can download on your phone and use that in a mobile app. On the next page, you start seeing what it actually looks like, and that particular image of the Lincoln Elementary School that they were referring to, if you kind of look at it, there's a feed in the middle, right? Those are all the posts that are coming from either the school, the district, they're all combined in one. If we were to get like club leaders or athletics, et cetera, they would all be kind of feeding in there. And then on the side, you have a navigation where, you can go and look at your posts, you can look at your images, there's a place for links and a few other things. And on the right-hand side, it populates the key information from those posts, such as events in a calendar. If we're sending something out, it has a form, for example, we can send out permission slips. It'll populate that form on the side as well. So what does that look like? Those of you who are on either Facebook or Instagram probably looks mostly like this. It will be very familiar to those that are used to using social media. So on to the next one. Like I said, there is a student square, so there's parent square and there's student square. And students, we will actually roll this out at the high school specifically because we are replacing the use of Remind at that level. And there's, lots of different also ways that this can be used with students.
Gaggle be on this?
I'm sorry?
Like, will Gaggle watch this, like?
No, this is really a closed environment. I always like to call these systems, this is a particular walled garden, so it's teachers communicating directly, or
So
it's
it's
a
not students,
club,
it's-
yeah,
got it.
it's different, yeah. And like I said, one of the things that really attracted us to this is, if you think about a bigger communication strategy, one of the issues that we have is that we may send it out through one channel, but then it has to be recreated for a second and third, et cetera. So if you're trying to actually get the word out about something, you post it on the website, you send it out through School Messenger, you recreate it for Twitter, you may have a Facebook, you send it out to the PTA and put it on, it goes on and on and on, right? So when you actually create a post in Parent Square, there's a button. You can directly share it to the website. It'll go into the newsfeed and it'll go right on the home page. It also has a way that you can do that with Twitter and Facebook as well, which if you start thinking about all of the places that you get information, there's an information overload, and it would be very nice if we try to, strategically do that. The other thing that is a little bit different, and we will make use of this as time goes on and we get used to the platform, is that it's interactive. It provides things like forms and permission slips. It provides an opportunity to send something out and ask for volunteers, and parents will be able to say, yes, I can volunteer, and I can volunteer at such and such a time for this particular event. So there's more that will be available where the parents can be engaged, and we can measure that engagement, which is also really important.
For payments, is there a fee for payments? Like, can this replace, what's our payment system called?
Yeah, they were beta testing that when we spoke to them about it. So, we don't love our current
I'm blanking on what it's called.
system.
Like the fee.
The school bucks.
Yeah, the My School Bucks. I don't like the per transaction fee.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
don't, tickets, spigots, another one we just don't love. So,
Yeah.
so that was when we
There
were
is a
meeting with the.
feature in it now that they have rolled out since we talked to the CEO back in March, when we were making the decision in terms of, will this really fit our needs? They didn't have that particular feature module in place, and they do now, but we're going to need to look at it and compare it. But like I said, there's a lot of things that we can actually basically build up as we're going along, so that might be one to take a look at. And one of the things that we've talked a lot about is how many different tools that we have. And is there a way that we can streamline, right?
And like Sports View and all of these different.
Yeah, and every single one of those is coming in, whether it's to the parent or even directly to the student, and they're coming from a different direction, and it makes it so that, in a sense, the communication is great that we do so much of it, but at the same time, it gets diluted because we do so much of it.
I just worry who controls the mothership, because I feel like this gets in the hand of next thing you know, you're getting
Yes.
tons of messages from
Yep.
everyone who wants to.
Yeah,
It's
and
like
I think
Facebook
that's a really good point. The way that we're approaching it right now is that next week we're actually beginning all the training with all the folks that currently are in School Messenger. So we have key folks at each of the schools. We have central office folks that are typically the ones that will send out School Messenger blasts. We've done a training with the webmasters because it's really important that they actually integrate the web with this as well, and then we will do the same with the tech ILs. That's going to be our starting point. And then I'll talk a little bit more about it, but we have now that communication task force that we're really excited about that is going to be able to set the standard operating procedures and some of the guidelines in terms of how to do that, because that is a really good point. I just wanted to have a one page where you can see all of the different features that are possible, the integration, the fact that you can create a newsletter as a template, and then just reuse that. It makes it really easy. I know all the schools have their own newsletters, and it would make this a little bit easier to go through. I love the idea of you send out a newsletter at the school level, and there's a button that you put on, and it goes right onto the website as well. So that's great. Also, the communication is automatically translated into 100+ languages, and the user can select their language. So that makes it really much more accessible. We talked about the forms, the different permission slips, the appointments. It's possible to set up, conferencing, parent-teacher conferences, and actually go in and sign up. They have sign-ups. We talked about the fact that we've now integrated this with our PowerSchool, our student information system, and that's really important because we'd like to have all of the information go through one place, which is PowerSchool, feeding this and keeping all of the information up to date. And their analytics, which is really important, is great. You get a dashboard, you can look at engagement, you can look at each post and see what the reach is. So once we start actually doing the work of the communication task force and looking at what data we should look at in terms of engagement, this is going to be a really great tool for us.
And who owns the data?
We do.
Okay, so
Yeah, they're absolutely on board with our data.
Okay.
Privacy, student, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So in terms of the Parent Square for parents, it's really it's not something that we need to do like trainings for. It's very easy. I've already kind of tested the waters and sent one post out, and I think that most people just received it, went in, signed in, and have reported back that they were in it. Like I said, you could choose to be on the app, so you'd have to download the Parent Square app, or be on the web and use the web portal. There is, and right now, if any parent is getting a post, it's there's a default in terms of how they're receiving the information. It's probably defaulting to something called digest, which means that all the posts from the day, whether it's coming from the school, the district, or other places, comes into one digest and comes in at like a 6:30 at night, and it's in that one format. You can choose to get it immediate. You can also choose to get or not get email, get or not get text, so you can choose the modality, you can choose how it comes to you. We as the district, though, can, with urgent alerts, override all of that, so that if we have to send something out urgently, we can send it out.
So you can force everyone to get a phone call?
Yep. Yep. And I don't know if you're able to go into that login just to show them what it looks like, but
Kevin,
if
do you
not,
see
it's
taking
okay.
over like the phone system for snow days and for
Oh, yes,
emergency alerts,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah, it'll, so beginning next year, it'll replace anything we would do with School Messenger.
So you don't have to add, like, if I'm a parent and I haven't downloaded the app, how do we work around that?
Why don't you just call your phone, if the phone number's in there?
Yeah, everything is in there, and you can't really opt out of getting it, so
But
it's
if I
not.
never download the app?
If that's the only way that you're getting it, you still can get it on the web, and you'll still get the voice and the text.
Okay.
Yeah. If you go into just the link, this is the dashboard. So if you're going in as an admin, all of the principals, everybody will be able to go in. They'll be able to see what posts have been sent out from the school, from anyone there, what the reach has been. So it starts off with this very nice, way of looking at it. On the left-hand side, if you actually just go to Parent Square, I believe it is. It's not going there. No. Yeah, maybe. It's kind of weird. So we're kind of, you're going to go into yours at this point, yeah. All right, let's just keep on going. The login, when you first go in and you go to parentsquare.com, it will give you a single sign-on, so you can actually go to the Google and just automatically go in. It really is very, very simple. So if you keep on going to the next slide, This is just for your information in terms of how we're rolling this out. We're right now at this point, in the point we've configured it, we're beginning to train key personnel. The district at the school, like I said, that's next week. And then we are kicking it off, obviously we're kicking it off tonight with this meeting, but we'll be able to send something to parents saying that we're making this transition and to get them ready in June so that by July, we can roll over since we're not renewing School Messenger. We'll need to use this entirely. The official deployment will be for the beginning of the school year, obviously, but in the meantime, we're getting ourselves ready to get there. So I'm going to make a segue. So you understand Parent Square. It's easy and it's robust. And it will support the work that we're going to talk about. On April 6th, you approved a new task force, the Communication Task Force. We're really very excited about it. I have to begin by thanking Nicola, who has been a real champion of this, and all of the people that now have become part of this. So we had our first meeting this past week on Tuesday, and it was, there's Kevin at the first meeting. I always take lots of pictures on every event, so this was an opportunity to do the same. So we basically had an introductory launch, a kickoff meeting, where we talked about what our goals were. We had those goals, we talked about those goals when we actually presented the task force. On the next slide, there's a real general of what the goals are. Essentially, the task force is going to be creating a comprehensive communication plan for Wilton Public Schools. I liken this to what we do with our curriculum reviews and our program reviews, where we're doing an extensive amount of data collection, whether it be with surveys or looking at trends, looking at the research, looking at national standards, and then taking that information and building with that a plan and recommendations. We are looking to increase engagement, obviously, and having a real clear way that we're communicating, and then to establish procedures and guidance. We're not a big district, in which case you have like an entire communications department. And because we're a smaller district, you absolutely need that clarity of procedures, guidance, recommendations in terms of how we communicate. And if you go to the next slide, we basically had a great meeting. We went and we actually in a sense, introduced not only the goals, but we began talking about what are our strengths, weaknesses, and our opportunities and threats. We did a little SWOT analysis so that everybody in the group could, in a sense, begin talking about how they felt about communication. And that segued into our conversation about what we needed to do, which was survey the community, look at those research trends, conduct focus groups, because oftentimes talking to people is different than, sending them a survey. And then we are establishing subcommittees for very specific areas. The areas that we're focusing on is, one, that idea of looking at all our digital tools and streamlining and making it very clear in terms of what is going to be used for what kind of communication. The second is a parent feedback in terms of how we have school-home communications, parent conferences, lots of things came up during that conversation. And the third is actually something that we absolutely need, which is we do a lot of great things in this district. We just sat here this entire night, and I could count like many things that this district, from the superintendent's report, from the board chair's report, from the folks that actually presented here, how many different stories did we just talk about tonight, right? We really need a way that we can get that out. It's a public and media relations campaign, a way to brand ourselves, a way of getting the information out. And so our task is going to be to develop those tools, that plan, the recommendations by next March. We have a set way. So with that, we do have specific dates, and I'd also invite Nicola or Kevin to also comment on the first meeting.
It was a great start. We think the SWOT analysis was, I think it needs a bit more time and a few more constituents weighing in. So I'm happy to share the presentation and the SWOT that we've got so far with anyone who's interested. And moving on from that, we're going to do some work designing a survey over the summer with a view to reporting that into the next meeting of the task force, which will be in September, and get the survey and solicit some focus group participants after the avalanche of information that will be the start of next school year.
How many people sit on the committee?
There's about, there are about 15 that came. There's a few that could not make it, so we'll probably have about 20. But, again, we have stakeholders that are, our administrators, teachers, parents. We have the entire community, and we're going to add a few students in the fall as well. So it's a good group. It's a very good group.
I think my only ask would be to really hit hard parent feedback. I feel like they're the ones that, I don't want to say complain the most, but they're the ones that struggle the most with some communication and how it's delivered and what they're missing. And I know there are plenty of people in this community that have opinions about it. So I know we're going to tackle that, but you have our support.
Thank you.
I'm
Yes.
willing to
Crack
help
this nut
whatever
open.
you need.
This is the hill I'm prepared to die on.
That's quite a statement.
Any other questions for Fran or Nicola?
No, it's a huge job, and it's exciting that you guys are taking it on.
Yeah.
Meeting on Thursday, June 1st. Comments from the public. Are there any comments from the public, Lucia? Or Kathy?
I'm everybody today.
Hearing none. Thank you all for a good meeting. Meeting is adjourned.
I just feel like.
Okay. That horse is died.